Rangan, Velacheri Ranga Iyer, was a schoolmate of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. The following account deals with his experiences with Bhagavan. In June 1907, I saw Bhagavan for the first time since we studied together at school. I asked, "Do you recognize me?" Bhagavan pronounced Rangan with difficulty. In those days, he spoke little and had difficulty using his voice. Through one of his statements, we can get an idea of the state of consciousness Ramana was in. He who is established in the state of self, which is pure, formless and limitless, sees nothing but the self. For such a person, where is the world? Where are others? Where is birth and death? All that appears is only the self, shining as pure consciousness.
My mother had already told me about her first visit to Bhagavan in the late 1890s when he resided in a temple on a hill near the main Arunachala temple in Tiruvannamalai. Many years later, speaking to me about my mother's visit, Bhagavan said, "When your mother came to see me, she was frightened by my appearance in ascetic robes. My hair was all matted and my body completely covered in dust." He added that, at that time, he had no awareness of the passage of time. Sometimes, when he tried to get up, his head would spin and he would lose his balance. When this happened, he concluded that many days must have passed in a state of samādhi, in which he was not conscious of the world. Apart from these periodic episodes of weakness, he had no other way of perceiving the passage of time. When asked if he ate at that time, he replied, "When there is no consciousness of the body, bodily functions are also suspended."
Living with Bhagavan awakened a spirit of renunciation in many, including myself, but Bhagavan always discouraged his devotees from taking the final steps of physical renunciation. My impulse to take sannyasa, monastic life, diminished and eventually disappeared. I got along very well with Shri Bhagavan's mother, as we had known each other since she lived in Madurai. Once she told me, one day, while I was staring at Bhagavan, his body gradually disappeared and in its place I saw a lingam. The lingam was very bright. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I rubbed my eyes, but I still saw the same bright lingam. I was frightened because I thought my son was leaving us forever. Fortunately, the lingam gradually transformed back into Bhagavan's body. After hearing this account, I looked to Bhagavan for confirmation, but he only smiled and said nothing. Let's contemplate another quote from Ramana on the nature of reality. The self is the only reality. The world, the ego, and God are merely appearances within it, like the silver's gleam in mother of pearl. These appear simultaneously and disappear simultaneously. By investigating the nature of the ego disappears, and what remains is the pure self, non-dual consciousness.
One day, I left Skandashram for a short period, leaving Bhagavan asleep inside the ashram. When I returned, I saw him sitting outside on a bed. I didn't think much of it until I entered the ashram and saw that Bhagavan was still sleeping inside, in the same position I had left him. When I told Bhagavan this later, he smiled and said, "Why didn't you tell me at the time? I could have caught the thief." This was Bhagavan's typical response to supernatural events. If such events were reported to him, he ignored them or treated them as a joke. This was because he did not want his devotees to be diverted from their main goal, the realization of the self, by an unproductive interest in miraculous phenomena.
Although Bhagavan preferred to keep his exalted state secret from the public, he occasionally showed us glimpses of his power and knowledge. Once, for example, a devotee was sitting at a distance from Bhagavan, copying some Sanskrit verses, had a doubt about what he should write. Bhagavan, without even being asked, called him and clarified his doubt. But he rarely demonstrated his omniscience so openly. I witnessed another manifestation of Bhagavan's power on one of my visits to Skandashram. Two men came from a village and asked Bhagavan to give them vibhuti, sacred ash, with his own hands. They refused to take the vibhuti from where it was kept, even when Bhagavan told them to do so, and ended up leaving disappointed. I went after them and asked, "Why did you want the vibhuti from Bhagavan's hands? Why were you so insistent?" One of them told me, "I had leprosy. Once I came to see Bhagavan, and he gave some vibhuti with his own hands. I applied it to my body, and soon there were no signs of the disease. This is my friend. He also has leprosy. That's why I asked for the vibhuti from Bhagavan's hands." Bhagavan probably knew he had inadvertently cured the leper of his disease. He probably refused to repeat the act because he did not want to gain fame as a miracle worker.
Although Bhagavan managed to maintain an appearance of normality, he was able to see the spiritual value of everyone who came to see him, and he did not allow himself to be understood by those who were not deserving. Once I felt I was not making much spiritual progress, so I asked Bhagavan, "How many times will I have to be born to reach jñāna, knowledge of the self?" Bhagavan replied, "There are no factors such as time and distance. In an hour of dreaming, we imagine that many days and years have passed. Don't you see, in a cinema film, mere shadows transforming into great seas, mountains, and buildings? The world is not outside of you. The small world that is in the mind appears as a large world on the outside. The annihilation of the mind is jñāna, self-knowledge or liberation."
As Ramana says in another passage, "There's no birth, nor death, there's no destiny, nor free will, there's no path, nor achievement. This is the ultimate truth. The seeker must abide in the self, where there's no I thought, nor any other thought. Where the I is not born, there we are what we are." Rangan's account reminds us that behind Ramana Maharshi's simplicity resided the source of the entire universe. His powers were not tools for display, but natural byproducts of someone who permanently resides in truth. If you felt inspired by this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave your like to help bring this message of timeless wisdom to more people. To further deepen your connection with the divine, watch this video.